Well, hi everybody. This is Oleg, and I'm on my journeys as always on the road again, going places I have never been, and driving through PA. I have met probably face most of you already know,
How's it going?
Greg and my prepper, and so we wanted to discuss few things that are what's going on in the world.
Yep.
And I just wanted to ask Greg a question. My question is, what do you think about that AI meeting that they're gonna have in the UK, and most countries supposed to be there, probably including Russia, I imagine.
Yeah, I think probably everyone, right?
Everyone, yeah. So
Yeah.
what's your thoughts on that?
It's kind of concerning because that's what they did right before the pandemic started. They had the meeting, the Event 201. I'm sure a lot of people out there are familiar with that, but that was the meeting right before the pandemic.
I didn't know about that meeting, about Event
Yeah.
201.
Yeah. I obviously have to be careful how I say that on here.
Mhm.
But yeah, they had a meeting right before the pandemic, like a year before, and they were basically discussing how they would respond to a pandemic. The elites, they sat down and they did like a tabletop exercise, and the scenario involved the same type of bug that ended up causing the pandemic. So a lot of people thought that they were, ahead of time. They, were figuring it all out. So I guess, is that what they're doing now? Are they figuring out the next big move, that they're gonna do? Does that mean that there's gonna be some kind of Terminator situation, and they're planning it out already right now? That's what I think. I don't know. What do you think?
I agree with all of this, and I also think that all these events, whether it's the bug, whether it's the wars, this AI meeting, to me personally, proves that they are all on it together. In my opinion,
I agree. Yeah, and exactly.
it's just how else do you explain it?
Yep. I feel the same way. Yeah.
On the surface, they try to act like they're fighting, and all I think they're doing is just reducing the population, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's
through various
It's almost
forms.
like, right, at first it was the pandemic, then it was Ukraine, now it's Israel.
And now no one's even talking about Ukraine.
No one's talking about Ukraine anymore.
It's like it's over, and it's
the next
not.
thing might be AI,
Right.
and they'll figure out something to do with that would, more either reduce the population or more controls over our lives. Maybe they're gonna say that, we have to have access to your devices now because for the safety of the world,
Right.
or something. You know what I mean? They can control things more.
And they already do, in my opinion, but
even more
supposedly now. It's only theory,
right?
Conspiracy theory, but I think we all can agree it might be true.
Yeah, and then if you look at the Terminator movies from, the 80s, that was when the first Terminator movie came out in like 84 or something, 81, I don't remember. But even going back that far, they were already, anything Hollywood does ends up happening.
Yeah, because everything is pre-planned decades in advance, I think.
Like with the aliens now, that's the new thing that they're saying, that aliens are real and UFOs and all that, and how many years have they been doing so many movies about it? So I feel like the next big thing is going to be this takeover with AI and some kind of,
Yeah, that Skynet they were talking about.
Well, even in
Terminator.
like the Terminator movies, that's exactly what could be happening now, is that they were saying that the new stealth bomber, which is the B-21, that's supposed to replace the B-2s in the next few years, they're going to make it either like a drone or you can pilot it, so it can do both. But what they wanted to do was make it fully like self-thinking. So if there's like a nuclear war, they can send the bomber out, and if something happens for whatever reason, you know, in a nuclear war, things can change. It can, let's say it was supposed to hit a certain target, and for whatever reason it has to change its course and go somewhere else and hit a different target. It's going to be able to make those decisions on its own and plan everything out on its own, rather than having somebody.
That's insane.
Yeah, and that's what they want to do. So basically that's like right out of Terminator. That's what happened in Terminator. They gave the AI control of the nuclear arsenal because they felt that the AI was more efficient and could respond faster than people, because people, when you're operating missiles, you still have to push the buttons, you have to go through the motions. So they thought if it was just AI, the missiles would launch themselves and everything. And that's the whole movie. And then what ends up happening in the movie is that the AI launches missiles at Russia on purpose, so Russia would nuke America back and cause a global nuclear war to destroy humanity, so the machines could take over. So it's almost like it's actually happening now. You know, we're thinking about putting AI on our stealth bombers. That's,
I believe on the Russian drones called Landsat,
yes.
I think they're already operated by AI.
Wow,
Those Landsats, I believe.
that makes sense. They're very accurate.
Very accurate, and they hit.
They're hard to
They're
shoot
hard
down.
to shoot down.
Yep.
And they hit targets from angles that
If you're
they cannot, that, like, let's say some artillery piece.
right, it's too high
It
up.
just comes around from the angles that they don't
won't-
expect
Right,
and
right.
hit it.
It's very possible. I mean, it's why not? They could easily do it. They have the technology. So, yeah, that's very concerning. I think I'm concerned about it. Yeah. So, I guess for prepping, that's why it's good to have some high power rifles. And if you have to shoot down a robot, 9mm is not going to do much.
Right. or a drone.
Or a drone. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure if you have one of those cannons, handheld cannons, 460 Ruger,
Yeah.
like you have, that's probably gonna work pretty well against robots.
Probably, yeah. Yeah.
So, anyway, and about the war in Israel, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it looks like it's going to escalate. I don't see any other way around that, because supposedly 1,300 Israelis were killed. So I don't think Jewish people and Israelis are going to forget about that anytime soon,
Yeah.
So if it was like 10 or 20 people, it wouldn't be, but that many people.
And this is what they say, maybe
could be more.
could be more.
Even if it's a little bit less, that's still
Still
hundreds.
a lot of people, yeah.
And they were very brutally murdered. There's videos, they children were like, they were like hiding in closets while their parents were being killed, yeah, just crazy stuff. And so the Israelis, they're not going to forget about that. They're not going. The leader of Israel said multiple times, he said it again today to Blinken, the Secretary of State. He said today that Israel won't do any peace treaty unless it involves full release of hostages, and Israel's not going to give any fuel in there either, because they don't want the terrorists to use the fuel. So, Netanyahu, he said multiple times that he's not going to do it. So there's not going to be any peace, from the Israeli side. I don't think the other side, they're not going to go for peace either, because they started the attack. So why would they?
Right.
Unless they're defeated so badly that they say, oh yeah, peace. But I think what's going to happen is Israel's going to go in, because they already have the city, Gaza City, surrounded. They've already, in the last week, they've already surrounded it. It's not a big city, and they're just going to go in slowly and take it over. And I think as time goes on, the more successful that Israel starts to become, the more that all the other Muslim countries, all those, they're going to start to get involved, and the terrorist groups, the jihadists, they're going to start to attack Israel more, and then the US is going to have to get involved to protect Israel, because Israel's the main ally of the US, so.
And now we have Yemen in the mix too.
Yemen, yeah.
Which is, to me, that was a surprise.
Yeah, Yeah,
kind of.
yeah, Yemen's involved, and so it could be very bad because in Saudi Arabia they have all the oil fields there, you know, and Iran was already able to hit those oil fields a couple of years ago. I don't know if you remember. I think it was like
Yeah, I remember.
they launched missiles and the Saudis weren't able to shoot it down.
Mm.
So unless they have some special new missile defense there now, you know, I think they would try to go for the oil. They could try to blockade the Strait of Hormuz, you know, prevent the oil from going out or something. So there's all kinds of things that they can do, and then they also have ballistic missiles. You know, Iran, they have long-range missiles that they can fire at Israel or Europe, or you know.
You know, when war in the Ukraine broke out, both you and I thought that was beginning of the Third World War,
Yep.
which I still think it still kind of was.
It still kind of was, yeah, because it set off like a domino effect.
Right.
So once that started, it
Now we have Israel
Yeah.
situation,
Yeah.
and what's next? What do you think
yeah.
another hot spot is going to be?
It seems like North Korea and South Korea, that might be the next one, and the Baltics. I'm very worried about something happening in the Baltics. Just because the last couple of weeks there's been a lot of Russian military cargo planes going to Kaliningrad.
I think while everybody's focused on
Israel.
Russia is probably going to do something funny with Baltics, in my opinion.
I think so too. It makes sense, you know.
Mm.
We'll have to see, but that's one, and then Korea, China also. But I think China won't get involved just yet. I think
They'll wait until
They'll wait.
the United States is more depleted.
Yeah, because right now China, going into Taiwan, it would be more costly for them than what would they really gain out of it.
Another little island.
Another little island that's better for them to just sit back and watch the rest of the world destroy each other, and then they can sit and then clean up everything after, you know. And
Yeah.
so that's why I'm not super worried about China right away, but definitely Korea and Baltics.
Baltics. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Baltics probably the most probable, in my opinion.
I agree. Yeah, I think so too.
Mm.
Because I think they've been saying for a while now that the Baltics could be attacked, and I just heard that the Russian military reorganized the Western Military District. I don't know if you.
No.
So like in 2010, I think it was, they took all the military districts in the western part of Russia and made it like one big district. But it used to be like they had smaller ones, like they had one around St. Petersburg. There was like one, you know, closer to Moscow.
Oh yes, I heard about that.
So
yeah.
they broke it up again now,
Mm.
which a lot of people say is like a precursor to some kind of military operation, either with Finland or the Baltics. Because why else would you
Why else would you do
split that up? Yeah.
Mm.
So yeah, so that's what I'm concerned about. Yeah, and then just the other day, the biggest thing is the U.S. House of Representatives. They passed the resolution that, you know, they're basically saying that they're not going to allow Iran to become a nuclear power, and they would take any action necessary to stop it. So it passed in the House like 350 votes, you know, which is like 90% or more.
Right.
I'm sure the Senate will pass it too. So that's almost like a declaration of war, basically.
Mhm.
So that's where it's going, and maybe the U.S. wants to wait until things escalate more, so then they have more of like a justification to go into Iran, versus if they went in now, it would be some question, why did you go? But if they wait for Iran to make the first move, then they
And they'll have good reason.
right, or like now that, for example, now they're attacking the bases in Iraq and Syria with all those terrorists, and Iran is funding them, so that they could maybe wait a little more for more bases to get hit, and then that would be their reason. They could say, well, you know, Iran is attacking our troops, we have to stop them, you know, and while we're at it, we'll take out their nuclear facilities, you know, which if they do that, it's possible Russia and China may get involved and attack us here. Who knows?
I hate to say it because I live here,
Yep.
but I think eventually unfortunately, there's probably gonna be some missiles hitting this land.
I agree. There's no way around
It
it.
sucks to say it, to think that, but I think there is no other way around. Eventually, I don't know
it's
when
in the
that
Bible
eventually.
too.
Yeah, yeah,
It's in the
exactly.
Bible. Yeah. So it's it's unavoidable.
Yeah.
So what do you think about the war in Israel and in general everything going on? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's definitely biblical. I think it's starting there now, and it's probably gonna end there. With the final battle of Armageddon.
Right.
So, I think, in my opinion, while there may be other parts of world on fire, like you mentioned, Korea or Baltics, and or China and Taiwan, and who knows what else. I think, meanwhile, it's gonna be burning hot in Middle East, and eventually they're gonna end it there, in my opinion.
Do you think so? Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah.
I think so. I mean, I don't know, but
That's right out of the Bible too.
Right.
Ezekiel,
right.
the Magog when they attack Israel. So yeah.
Yeah, I believe when you talk about Magog and Gog, I think it probably has to be Russia, in my
You think so?
opinion. Sometimes I thought maybe Turkey.
Turkey. But Turkey doesn't have enough.
They
Yeah.
just don't have enough power.
They don't have the nuclear power.
They don't have nuclear power.
That's the key.
That's the biggest.
That's
yeah.
the biggest thing, because let's say you had a Magog alliance that attacks Israel, but none of them have any nukes or very little.
Or very, like
Then
China has a
like
little
China
bit.
has a little bit, or Iran maybe a few, but then we could just nuke them and it would end it.
Right.
But if Russia gets involved, they have the nuclear umbrella, so they
Even-
protect all the.
Even if, like, some people say, oh, Russian nukes are outdated, don't work.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. They still have so
there's
many.
so many.
Some of them gonna work. You
Yeah,
know?
it's like saying, are you gonna get shot with a revolver or a new Glock or something? It doesn't matter.
Doesn't
you
matter. They're
still
still
get
gonna
shot.
get shot. Yeah.
Yeah. Whether it's old pistol or new one, it's still
Right.
doesn't really,
Doesn't
maybe
matter.
some things are a little better, but at the end of the day, a gun
Maybe
is a gun.
one missile will misfire and
Right.
but-
Still gonna damage. No, yeah, they have so many, so yeah.
Well, Greg, this was great.
I
As
agree.
always, meeting you.
Yep.
Always my pleasure. Always fun.
I enjoyed it. Yeah.
So thanks again.
Hopefully we'll do more videos together, right?
Yeah. We should.
Yeah, I think we should.
I enjoy doing it. And you know what? I'll say this. You gotta prepare
Practice.
and persevere.